Hi, friends. I'm Dr. Jennifer Bird. I'm a biblical scholar, and I'm stepping out of my lane just a little bit today, but only as being a conduit of someone else's work because I posted a video this week. Um, Earlier this week, I had it's more of an exchange. It wasn't in person, but I had an encounter with someone who who really seemed to not think not be able to think through what's happening in terms of should Trump make it into the White House again, the impact that Project 2025 could likely have on what he does. So the person was dismissing even being concerned about Project 2025 because, as this person said, he had nothing to do with writing it. So I'm gonna drop just a few factoids, but mostly I just wanted to share a video with you all, and so I thought the easiest way to do that is to watch the video here, and I'm so delighted that a few people are even able to be here because this was very much a last-minute thing. So thank you for those who want to be here and are able to join me live for this. But I said something actually to one of my brothers. I was like, "I don't know if it even matters. It feels like too little too late." And he said, "No, actually, I don't think it is. Like a lot of people just don't think about what happened 6 months ago, much less the last 4 years, or we could say, the last 8 or whatever." So that's what I want to do today. There's a video on YouTube so I'm gonna let me see. What else do I need to say before we get into this? We're gonna watch a video together, and I want to share just a handful of things about Project 2025. If you have not taken any time to look at it, I would recommend that don't think you're gonna take 5 hours on it. Just go Google it. Go Google Project 2025, see all the different websites that are using it to talk about the different human rights that will be undone by someone using Project 2025. That should trigger some things, some thoughtfulness for you. Like, this is women's rights, how this is going to impact families, how this is going to impact minority peoples in this country, how this is going to impact people who aren't Christian. This Just the list of websites that are trying to raise awareness is one piece of this. The other thing is, let me just share very briefly. Um, Right. So I'm a little scattered. Sorry. So this person who said it doesn't matter, Trump didn't contribute to Project 2025. And my response to that person was, it doesn't matter in this case that he didn't contribute. Um, a little factoid for you: 18 different people who were either contributors or editors of it were a part of the Trump administration. 18. Let that sink in. And then let me share this 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 other factoid with you. So if you look over here in the right-hand corner, I know it's tiny. I'm not sure how to make this larger without like taking a picture and blowing it up. So the first 24 mentions up here were the people in the contributors and editors list. So 24 different times within these are the people who helped to write this, and they're that many people associated with the Trump administration. And then you can see that his name is mentioned another 285 times. So I was on page 53. And right, sorry, I got myself distracted here. So starting here on page 53, there are another almost 300 mentions of his name in the remaining, nearly 900 pages. Okay. So it doesn't matter that Trump himself, there's he's not critically thinking. He doesn't have enough to offer this, but the people who worked in his administration, all those, yeah, that's important. That's important that his name is sprinkled throughout that document. That's important. We need to take that seriously. What I think is actually, and so I would recommend that you look through the table of contents or read the introduction or just take a look. Don't spend 5 hours, spend 10 minutes, 15 minutes. Take it seriously that he doesn't even have to understand it, right? He just needs to be able to find people who do and who are willing to do his bidding, right? And one of the first steps of this process of taking on the advice of this group, the Heritage Foundation is who put it together, is this issue of just eliminating 40,000 present government officials and replacing them with people who are in his pocket or people who will do his bidding. I just think about that. That means around the country, right? Not just in DC. We're talking people around the country who are going to be doing his bidding. It is serious, right? This is serious business. Okay. So let me go ahead and introduce, say a little bit about. So we're going to watch a video by Jason Stanley. He is currently, I think, I haven't gone to double check this on his website, but this is a relatively recent video, so I think it's up to date. So Jason Stanley is the one who put together this video, and it goes fast. So I'm going to see if I can pause every now and then to make sure people are tracking with all the things, but it's really quite dense in terms of information. I'm just reading from his YouTube page, or the description for this video. Jason Stanley is the Jacob Urowski Professor of Philosophy at Yale University. Before coming to Yale in 2013, he was Distinguished Professor in the Department of Philosophy at Rutgers University. So already a full professor 11 years ago. Stanley is the author of multiple books: Know How, Languages in Context, Knowledge and Practical Interests, which won the American Philosophical Association Book Prize, which is saying something, and How Propaganda Works, which won the Prose Award for Philosophy from the Association of American Publishers. He writes about authoritarianism, propaganda, free speech, mass incarceration, and other topics for the New York Times, the Washington Post, the Boston Review, the Guardian, Project Syndicate, and the Chronicle of Higher Education, among other publications. So that's a pretty impressive list of publications, outlets that are promulgating his content. And this video is incredible. So I am eager to share it with you. I'm going to come back over here. So nice to see some people here with me live. Thank you for that. All right, so we're gonna watch this together. That's what I'm gonna do. I don't have much more to say from my end. I'm just gonna make sure, in some ways, that people are tracking with this content. It's about a 10-minute video, so this isn't gonna take long. Okay, so if you do have questions, it's a special. Yeah, I'll do my best to field them, but I'm really just trying to be a kind of a vessel for getting his content out today. So if it isn't too late for someone to hear this, that's what I'm thinking. I was told it isn't too late. So not too little too late. Okay, so I'll give it a try, right? So here we go. Let's watch this video together. We're doing a viewing together in a way. So all right, let's see, make sure this is looking right. Not sure if I'll be able to get rid of the stuff across the very bottom, but I think you all can probably handle that. Roll with me on this. So, yep, it starts out intensely from the start. So I think this works, right? You all get to hear the sound, right?
Fascism is a cult of the leader who promises national restoration in the face of supposed humiliation by...
Okay, I just want to make sure. Are you all hearing the sound on that? Oh, thank you, Fox. Here's Pinkham. So just making sure that you all can hear. I paused it just to make. Thank you, Anina. Oh, I'm so glad you're here too. Okay, good. Thank you. I just want to make sure before we get into it. So let me just back up again, and then we'll roll with this. Okay.
Fascism is a cult of the leader who promises national restoration in the face of supposed humiliation by immigrants, leftists, liberals, minorities, homosexuals, women, in the face of what the fascist leader says is a takeover of the country's media, cultural institutions, schools by these forces. And that's why you need a really macho, powerful, violent response. The fascist leader says he will solve the problem. Fascism is right-wing by nature. It's based on ultranationalism. However, you can have ultranationalist movements that are ultranationalist movements of minority groups. There is left-wing authoritarianism. There are bad things on the left. Stalin killed many, many people. Mao killed many, many people. These are terrible figures, but not all terrible things are fascist. Fascism is a very particular ideological structure. When thinking about fascism, you can't think about these individual elements in isolation. They come as a bundle. My name is Jason Stanley. I'm the Jacob Urowski Professor of Philosophy at Yale University and the author of 5 books, most recently, How Fascism Works, The Politics of Us and Them.
Buckle up. Here we go.
We forget that many fascist regimes started off as democratic political parties. We forget that Hitler, the Nazi party, ran in an election. Fascist parties start as fascist social and political movements before they come to power. So it's important to see that these tactics occur even in societies that do not have a fascist regime. All nationalism involves a mythic past. So you can say, look, we're Polish people who spoke Polish and were sheep herders, and another bunch of Polish people who were fishermen. You can talk about how things were wonderful when we were all Polish together. That's a fine mythic past. But then there's the fascist mythic past. In the past, we were great. Wherein did our greatness consist? In our military. And in the past, the dominant racial group ruled over others. And then the fascist leader says, that has been taken from you by the leftists and communists. They want to weaken our military. They want to weaken our greatness. Propaganda is ubiquitous and everyone uses propaganda. In political propaganda, your main message is something other than the information you're conveying. Fascist propaganda is a very particular structure. It's based around a friend-enemy distinction. The political opponent, they are a merciless threat to your very existence and your traditions. They are the other. When they are in charge, it subverts the nation. So the structure, fascist propaganda, is based on the idea that the other are fundamentally opposed to the nation. As Hitler said,
I mean, I feel like we could pause to make sure everybody's catching the parallels here, right? Make America great again. It's pretty obvious there on the first one. The second point in terms of the other and all the different ways that the male candidate is talking about and is othering, right? The number of ways he's creating an us and them in terms of, I'm putting in air quotes, true Americans and immigrants, or people who don't want to support X, Y, or Z, or people who, the number of ways he's creating this us them is really important in this particular list of things. And the way that he continues to emphasize enemies, those who oppose me, those who are against X, Y, or Z, as compared to we're all in this together, right? And we need to have a leader who wants to lead as much as possible, a unified nation, not a nation that is so starkly divided, so starkly against each other you can't hear each other, right? I think that the male candidate excels in creating that division, whereas good leaders, right? A sound leader, someone who is good for the nation, however messed up all the other things are, someone who is able to see this is we are better together, right? Is what I'm interested in endorsing at this point, right?
Says in Mein Kampf, science is only useful insofar as it strengthens the nation. Fascism is a cult of the leader. It involves the leader setting the rules about what's true and false. So any kind of expertise, reality, all of that is a challenge to the authority of the leader. If science would help him, then he can say, okay, I'll use it. Institutions that teach multiple perspectives on history in all its complexity are always a threat to the fascist leader.
Do we need a pause to comment on that? Do we want to comment on institutions that teach multiple perspectives on history are a threat, right? People, so he's talking about this at a macro level, but then that begins to shake down too within the institutions themselves. Other people who aren't in whatever field aren't towing the current status, however you want to talk about it, right? Like people who were pushing for multiple narratives or for diversity of perspectives in any field, become a threat. And I've had conversations with people in the sciences or in physics, like all kinds of places, on these folks who are who are interested in educating and beyond a very strict narrative, are getting pushed out. And that's been happening for many years now, and it's helping to usher in this kind of an embrace of this particular element of fascism. Yeah.
The center of democracy is truth. You're not free if you've been lied to. Nobody thinks the people of North Korea are free. The people of North Korea will vote for dear leader every time because they've been lied to. It's not a free vote because they don't have access to the truth. Equality similarly requires truth, because equality in democracy doesn't mean we all have the same amount of money. It doesn't mean we all have the same car. It means political equality, that each of our voices matters the same. And political equality means speaking truth to power. If someone really powerful is humiliated when they're caught lying, that's the core of political equality. So if you're going to rip the heart out of democracy, you get people used to lies.
I do want to comment. I want to pause on that one too. This is, I think about this also playing out because, in part because I don't think either side, like when it comes to access to media, this is why I respect when people really do try to hear, like they try to read sources from multiple perspectives in terms of getting news. I don't have a whole lot of time, so I don't spend time listening to what Fox News says or whatever, kind of more conservative outlets. But I do think that this is an important part of how this night, like, I don't know the label for, is it naivete? Is it, people having kind of drunk the Kool-Aid, or however you want to say it, that they're not getting the full picture. They're not, so Fox News isn't giving a full picture of the things that Trump is saying that are really dangerous, that's scary and dangerous. When he is saying things that ought to terrify people, but I'm hearing about that from my news sources, but I know not all news sources are talking about it. So that's part of the lie, right? Nobody is fully informed. I know that there are problems on the left in terms of selectivity. Please don't get me wrong. I realize that none of these systems is perfect. I'm just genuinely terrified that we're going to have someone in the office who's going to roll out just this wave of fascism, and it terrifies me. So I'm focusing on that element here. Not having people who are supportive of Trump are not being given the full picture about him. And that's a part of what I think he's talking about as well. So
here's a fact about humans. We all pretty much suck to the same degree. One group of us is not better than another group of us. Hierarchy is central here because it's the big lie at the center of things. What is racism but one big lie? Racism is the lie that one group is better than another. You're told this religion is better, this race is better, this gender is better. It's really a moral claim, has more moral worth. And then once you have hierarchy set up, you can make people very nervous and frightened about losing their position on that hierarchy.
Did you all see that statistic? Let me just, it's a fascinating statistic. Let's see. Yeah. Anti-Asian hate crimes rose 107% between 2019 and 2020. I mean, yeah. Okay. Just want to make sure you saw that. There's so many pieces
about
of
losing
this.
their position on that hierarchy.
It's really rich.
Hierarchy goes right into victimhood, because once you convince people that they are justifiably higher on the hierarchy, then you can tell them that they're victims of equality. German Christians are victims of Jews. White Americans are victims of Black American equality. Men are victims of feminism. Once you convince people that they should be better, that they have earned a position on the hierarchy over others, then you can tell them that equality is actually victimhood. Loyalty to the dominant group means law-abidingness. And the minority group is by its nature not law-abiding.
That's such a great, moment. Oh, sorry, I meant to put his screen larger on the screen when I left. That last piece about those who aren't with the majority or with the perspective of the person who's in authority or in power are always talked about in this language of not law abiding, and through the lens of, I mean, we heard it throughout Trump's presidency, even, right? Just talking about people in very essentialized ways, right? And very not unjustifiable ways, right? The essentialism that he's using was not justified, but he's saying it and people are believing it over and over and over again. Let me put this, there we go. All right, let me go back over to this screen. I'm going to back up just to hear him say that last part again, because I think sometimes this is really helpful, and sometimes you all are, you might have missed it the first time. So I want to replay that and we'll keep going.
So feminism. Once you convince people that they should be better, that they have earned a position on the hierarchy over others, then you can tell them that equality is actually victim. Loyalty to the dominant group means law-abidingness, and the minority group is by its nature not law-abiding. Law and order in fascist politics means the members of the minority group who accept their subservient role, they're law-abiding, and the members of the dominant group, by their very nature, are law-abiding. By definition, the leader can't violate law and order. So law and order...
That's big, right? That we're seeing that play out in terms of what the ways Trump has, the way he's just said he's gonna excuse himself from conviction, right? He's gonna exonerate him, all the different ways that he's talked about just dismissing and denying the things that took place around January 6th, or the ways he's talking about just doing totalitarian kinds of moves as if the law, process and law doesn't apply to him. And because he has people in the Supreme Court in his pocket, this is going to be difficult to challenge.
Law and order doesn't mean justice. Law and order doesn't mean equality. Law and order structures who's legitimate and who's not.
I'm just going to replay that because that little nugget there at the end is really really powerful to me. By definition, the leader can't violate law and order.
Leader can't violate law and order. So law and order doesn't mean justice. Law and order doesn't mean equality. Law and order structures who's legitimate and who's not. Everywhere around the world, no matter what the situation is, in very different socioeconomic conditions, the fascist leader comes and tells you, your women and children are under threat. You need a strong man to protect your families. They make conservatives hysterically afraid of transgender rights or homosexuality, other ways of living. These are not people trying to live their own lives. They're trying to destroy your life, and they're coming after your children. What the fascist politician does is they take conservatives who aren't fascist at all, and they say, look, I know you might not like my ways. You might think I'm a womanizer. You might think I'm violent in my rhetoric, but you need someone like me now. You need someone like me because homosexuality, it isn't just trying for equality. It's coming after your family.
I think many of you who are here or might be watching it later can certainly testify to that last tidbit, that people, that's a thing that's been alive and well for a while, right? People who don't want to understand human sexuality specifically, demonize people who are non-straight, the large portion of the population, right, that is non-straight, and the idea that someone else's sexuality is a threat to you is just hysterical, right? I mean, it's ridiculous, and it's built on fear. It's built on significant underinformed views of human sexuality, but it's a powerful one since it's such a personal thing for us, right, as human beings. Okay, let me keep going. I think we're on number 9?
Fascist movements typically, though not invariably, rest on an urban-rural divide. The cities are where there's decadence, where the elites congregate, where there's immigrants, there's criminality, there's Sodom and Gomorrah. In the city, there's not real work. The pure, hardworking, real members of the nation live in the rural areas where they.
I do want to say that hardworking, like farmers, are very hardworking people. So, and I don't think he's I don't think he's saying that they're not. I just want to be very clear. There are many farmers in my family, both sides of my family, multiple generations back. Like, I appreciate farmers. I appreciate the way agriculture works in our, like, no farmers, no food. Like, just want to be very clear about that. But that's not what he's saying here. He's not saying that farmers aren't hardworking. He's talking about the divide in terms of it's different kinds of work for sure. But yeah, I just want to be clear about that. Okay, I'll back up.
City, there's not real work. The pure, hardworking, real members of the nation live in the rural areas where they work hard with their hands.
They do.
When our politicians talk about inner city voters or urban voters, we all know what they mean. Arbeit macht frei, work shall make you free. This was written on the gates of Auschwitz. The idea is that the minority group, they're lazy and they need to be made to work. Free labor. The minority group and the leftists, they're lazy by their nature, and it gives them a work ethic. Labor unions are run by communists who are trying to make things easier. Hard work is a virtue. In liberal democracy, we don't value people by how hard they work. What would happen to disabled people who can't work? They would then have no value. It's why the Nazis had the T4 program to murder the disabled, because the disabled were lebensunwertiges Leben, life unworthy of life, because to be valued was to be capable of hard work. Each of these individual elements is not in and of itself fascist, but you have to worry when they're all grouped together. When honest conservatives are lured into fascism by people who tell them, look, it's an existential fight. I know you don't accept everything we do, you don't accept every doctrine, but your family is under threat. Your family is at risk. So without us, you're in peril. Those moments are the times when we need to worry about fascism.
Get smarter faster with new videos every week from the world's biggest thinkers.
Okay. Like a part. So I'm going to put this up. So I'm not going to lie. Thank you, Fox. All this sounds strangely like apartheid logic. It is. It's not. You're not wrong. You're right. You're tracking. That's the point, right? This happens this has happened in a lot of places. It's not unique to the way Trump is talking, et cetera. And the fact that you can look at other times and places in history around the world and see this playing out, I think endorse or kind of undergirds the seriousness here. This is a thing that happens. People of various ideologies get sucked into this way of thinking and being and behaving and participating in it, perpetuating it. So you're absolutely right. Okay. Fascism coming back is very scary. Yeah, fascism coming back is scary as whoop, whoop. Yeah, it is. And it is, pieces of it are happening, right? Pieces of it are being embraced by people who otherwise, well, who might see things differently if they weren't kind of here, in their own little, what's it called? You're hearing your own perspectives over and over and over, and yeah, echo chamber. That's the word I'm looking for. Oh my goodness, I'm almost afraid to put that one up, but I appreciate the comment, Heathen Granny. So yeah, I think this is a nice way to put it, the wild beast. If you embrace this mentality, you put everyone in peril. I think that's right. I agree with you. I think that's part of the point here, is that it isn't, the way it's kind of presented as you are in peril, but it puts everybody in peril. It is actually not taking care of people. It's the very opposite of taking care of humanity, right? But it's being sold and kind of given this, icy, whatever, right? It's kind of giving this sheen that, no, this is about protecting you. And it's absolutely not what it's about. So I appreciate you all being here. I don't think there are any questions specifically for me. There are so many great comments going on in the chat today. I appreciate you all being here. Yeah, let me see. Any questions for me? I do good. Okay, you guys are having fun in the chat, which is great. That's all I wanted to do. I wanted to share Jason Stanley's video. So now you can share it here if you want. Or you can go to you can go share it from his channel, whatever. Just wanted to present it so that there's some from a scholar who this has been his life work, right, is on this issue of propaganda and this element of fascism. So I think having some facts or factoids even is helpful. Yeah. So that was my intent. I wanted to share this video with some people. So unless yes, you're welcome. Unless there are any questions for me, I'm gonna just end the video or in this live stream, because that's all I wanted to do was bring this together. But I'm so grateful so many of you wanted to be here and were able to be here on a Saturday afternoon. Yeah, that's it. Thanks for showing up, and thanks for supporting the work I'm doing in all kinds of ways. I appreciate you being here. Thank you, Pragmatic Crystal, for all the links, and thank you. Oh, interesting. That's a very interesting comment here. I'm just going to throw this on the screen. I was looking at this comment. I've heard Mao realized he made mistakes and changed. That's interesting. I don't know, but that's an interesting. Okay, so yeah. Thanks for being here. Have a good rest of your weekend. I'll be up with Diablo Critics tomorrow afternoon if you want to come join us. So we'll go out with a regular story time closing. Thanks. Take care. Oops, I just saw a comment, so that's why I'm still here. Oh, sorry. There we go.